Well, welcome to our December Octocon Presents. It's just a cozy fireside fan chat where we're just going to talk about the content that we found in 2022 or that came out in 2022, and also talk about the things that we're looking forward to in next year. So it's just kind of an end of the year wrap up and chat about the things that we liked. We have Paul, our new chairperson for 2023, and we're so excited that he is our chairperson. We have Faranae, who is a horrible goose, who is currently in a snowfield. We have Apollo, who is one of our new additions to the program team. The program team are the people that put together the panels and workshops, etc., basically creating the program for Octocon. And there is myself, I'm Kat Dodd. I am actually the new head of program, and I'm very excited about it. This is our December Octocon Presents.
So the most recent thing that I found that came out in 2022 is actually The Princess. It's on Disney Plus, and it has Dominic Cooper as the villain and Joey King as the princess. And it is just really good in a lot of different areas. It is fantasy. It's almost as though she is the main character in a D&D campaign. Like just the way that it's done, there's so many things where it's like, roll to see if it works. Like this is where that would be if that were going to happen, kind of things. Roll damage, kind of situations. The other part that I really like is that as things are going on and her clothing is getting more and more damaged because she's ripping it herself, it's happening to become more and more practical without impinging on modesty, because the character is still a teenage girl. And so it is basically like shortening the skirt so that she can kick, ripping the sleeves off so that they're not getting tangled in things, so that she can actually use her arms, like things like that. She's also very smart with how she goes about things. You can see her weighing her options to see what she's going to do and calculating things out. Like it's very girl power without just going at it as we're going to be girl power. Like, yeah, highly recommend. Absolutely loved watching it. Am going to watch it again. I will give the warning, it is hyper violent, but not necessarily realistic violent. So there is some blood, be aware. A guy does get stabbed in the eye socket. That one probably should come with a more specific warning.
Yeah, but was it warranted?
Yes, it absolutely
Well, then
was.
it's fine. Then it's fine. They're like, it's okay.
Like it's hyper violent without being gratuitous violence, if this makes sense.
Yeah, it's not Clockwork Orange.
Right.
It's not a Tarantino film.
Very much that. And I literally watched it this afternoon. So when I say it's the most recent thing, like it is the most recent thing.
I have watched nothing recent. I mean, I think the most recent thing I've watched is Aquatope in anime, and I only watched like 3 episodes of that, so I can't even safely recommend it because a lot depends on how much they're queer baiting me.
Right. So Paul, I know that while this is not necessarily brand new content, we've watched Hill House, because I watched The Haunting of Hill House first, and then I messaged Paul being like, I need to talk to you about Haunting of Hill House, and then I was like, wait, have you even watched it? Because I just assumed that Paul had watched it because it is like on brand for what Paul is going to do. And he hadn't, and I was like, you have to watch it, because first of all, it's freaking amazing, you have to watch it, but second of all, you have to watch it so I can talk to you about it.
Was that only this year?
It was this year.
Oh my gosh, it's been a long year.
Right, because my birthday present this year was watching it with Colin.
Oh wow. Yeah, because I've actually watched like all of it and all of his other shows this year, which is, that can't be right.
Yeah, no, it was.
It's a very long
this year. This year has been like 10,000 years in one.
Really, 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 really has been. It's one long year.
Yeah, I got a bit obsessed with Mike Flanagan's work. So as soon as I finished Hill House, watched Bly Manor, and then this other one came out. I've forgotten what it's called now.
Midnight Mass.
It's one on Midnight Mass, yes, which is really creepy, and I loved it. And then I think his most recent one then was the Midnight Club, which
He's doing Dark Tower.
he is, yes.
Like I found that out and I like freaked out. Because he's been tapped to do the Dark Tower now, and I'm like,
which is good because Midnight Club got cancelled after one season, even though it was really good. So
Right.
at least Mike Flanagan gets to do more things,
yes,
and it's also maybe read the Midnight Club. So that's the thing I'm going to attempt to do when I'm off work. But we'll see how we do. Sequel I never thought would happen. Hades 2.
I'm so excited. You've opened the floodgates, my friend.
I
Sleeves are
have
being
been
rolled.
obsessed with Hades. Like, instead of picking up new games to play this year, I just replayed Hades again.
Good.
I
the
think
only
I
game I
had
need to play.
2 new saves because I fought my way through the entire thing. I was like, now I want to see the story again. Let's go.
Yes, as you should. You're so right.
What is Hades 2 going to be about? Because
All right. Okay. So Hades 2 is going to be a direct sequel to Hades. In Hades, spoiler alert, the main storyline revolves around the son of Hades and Persephone, Zagreus, as he tries to continually escape the underworld to try reconnect with his mother and try figure out his old family drama. You'll love to see it. It's a slay. Hades 2 is going to pick up after the events of Hades 1. So it is a direct sequel. Clearly some time has passed in the middle. From the trailer, the main character is going to be Melinoe. Melinoe is a Orphic deity. In the one hymn that we have about her, she is the daughter of Persephone and Zeus, but Zeus was disguised as Hades. So look, we're not going to get into the consent of Greek mythology. It's
It's a whole thing.
certain Greek gods would not recognize consent if you slapped it on the face of Mount Olympus and threw the mountain at them. So, so we're not
Zeus
going to get
being
into
one of
that.
them.
Zeus needs to stop banging people as animals. Is all I want
Yep,
in my life.
seriously.
He bangs someone as a goose. I don't need that in my life.
Not this goose.
Not that goose. This goose is sacred. Anyway, from the trailer of Hades 2, it looks like Melinoe, who is this goddess associated with nightmares and magic, very closely related to the triple goddess of the moon and magic, Hecate. Her mission seems to be, we don't know what direction she's going in. Like, we knew that Zagreus was going from the bottom of Hades up. I have a personal theory that you're going from the overworld down, that you're trying to go into the underworld this time, because that would also be a more Orphic route of like being like, okay, follow the path that Orpheus took, go down to the underworld. Because one of the images in the trailer is Hades chained up, and he's speaking about Kronos being the Titan lord associated with time who ate the first Olympians until Zeus tricked him into throwing his siblings up. Go read some of these books. They're crazy.
They really are.
I'm not getting into half of it. But yeah, it looks really cool. Magic is being introduced, which was a whole new mechanic and a whole new set of powers that was not integrated into the first Hades game. New deities are being added, like Hecate, Nemesis, Apollo, Moros, the god of doom itself, which is like, I gotta give props to the Hades team for, like, this is my whole degree, is classics. When you're picking out gods that even like full people who have studied dedicated years of this studying and putting them in your game, I'm like, that's flirting. You Supergiant games are flirting with me. Another aspect about Hades that I forgot to mention, which I feel is very important, is that Hades was made for bisexuals. Go look at any of the character art. They are all hot as hell.
it looks like they'll be doing something interesting with the new one. So with the first Hades game, whenever you died, you come back because the whole thing is it's Arceus. It's like a god of blood and he's being reborn in the world every time.
Mhm.
And that is there's suggestions online that whenever you die in the new game, it's actually Kronos' magic putting you back to the start. So time is resetting, which
Ooh.
is
Yeah.
it could be an interesting dynamic because it means because the idea is that you're trying to stop Kronos, but if you stop Kronos, you no longer have a loop. So it traps the game in a certain way. So
I'm
I'm
really
really
interested.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in how like they're
interesting.
going to integrate magic and stuff because a lot of ancient magic was really relating more than anything to divination, which is really cool because like when you think about necromancy and the general kind of like magic sense, you think about like medieval necromancy of they're raising the dead. No, necromancy just started off being like, hey, dead dad, what should I do here? Just being like, hey man, I need some advice.
Where are the keys?
This is how all
Demon
necromancy
shows up.
starts. It's not Dark Lords. It's just a slippery slope that you fall down from. Hey, where's the keys?
Oop, there goes my soul. Well, got my keys though.
So really, I win.
The way they integrated like just little references to classical mythology and even more modern interpretations is hilarious. Like you meet the character of Sisyphus in the underworld, who should be just a dude being tortured relentlessly in an endless cycle, but he's happy out, and that's a conception that comes from Nietzsche. So that's what they did. The research they did. I'm ace, but the good research that does it for me. I'm so sorry.
We are learning so much about Apollo.
Welcome to
more
the
you know.
team.
I'm ashamed.
No shame.
No shame here.
Speaking of like adaptations of mythologies, one new show that came out this year and that I watched was Moon Knight.
Yes!
God.
Yes!
You didn't even have to say anything about it. You just named the show.
Like, let's keep the conversation going. Moon Knight, as an Egyptology nerd, also. Mwah, Madonna.
I love Moon Knight so very much for so many different reasons.
I only know that Moon Knight is a thing everybody loves. I don't even know what it's about.
Spoiler warning, we're about to talk Moon Knight stuff. So basically it is Oscar Isaac's character is an avatar for an Egyptian god. He also has dissociative identity disorder. And the handling of both characters, because they really are two different characters in one body, is just honestly really, really well done. And so far from everybody I know that has dissociative identity disorder that has seen it, has said that this is pretty spot on for how it works. Obviously, everybody's experience is different, but as a general thing, it's pretty spot on. So like there's that part, and that's the part that I care most about, to be honest. But the story itself is really well done. The pacing is well done. Normally I have issues with the Marvel shows about their pacing. This is one of the few, in my opinion, that has really good pacing all throughout. The third episode of any of the Marvel shows up to this point have tended to be a little bit of a middle episode. Moon Knight's third episode is still really, really crisp. Yeah.
From myself, but I was looking at it from the pacing and stuff like that are things that I've started to pay more attention, more than anything because I DM a lot. So my style of DMing is it's a mix of narrative and cinematic, where like I do start paying attention more to like, okay, this is episode 2 or like 3 in a limited run. So this is where the end of the introduction should be. So do we have everything? Do we have all the pieces on the board? So that's how I've started looking at things. But apart from that, the mythology in it Pretty good. It is an urban fantasy story, and it does the thing that urban fantasy does, which is like, okay, we have all the information, we have all the stories, we have all the myths. We're now going to use that to make our own story. And some stories change a lot, like American Gods or Percy Jackson or whatnot. Moon Knight stays fairly solid, like fairly standard with like what the gods are up to, their roles. Obviously they have to invent fully new things, like the gods being like trapped in stone as a punishment. That's a Marvel thing. And you're like, okay, that's just their explanation of why only the main ones are around and why they've kept quiet, and why we don't see like a bunch of Egyptian gods just walking around London or the world, which I think would be really fun. If I saw a crocodile-headed dude walking around, I'd be like, hell yeah, man.
I actually wonder about that because, like, most Western urban fantasy kind of assumes a masquerade situation. Like, it's always there's a masquerade situation, and I don't know why that is. Like, why does it always have to be this, oh, they're hiding or whatever?
I think it's...
You saw what happened during the Crusades.
Yeah, I know that.
Yes. I feel like you could do a what if that goes further back though and just makes everything happen differently. Like, no.
I'm currently watching Wednesday, which is kind of following on from the Addams Family movies, and they're dealing with that in an interesting way, where she's going to a boarding school for the outsiders, or whatever they're calling them. I binged 4 episodes last night and very little sleep, so I kind of don't know what they're calling things anymore. But it's all the people who are weird, and they're living beside a town full of what they call normies, and the town are fully aware of how strange everyone in the school is. So there's that element of they don't have to hide who they are when they're in the town, but also they shouldn't be doing any of the weird shit, because a lot of the time it's like, oh, there's werewolves and vampires and they'll eat things, but then there's just other people like Wednesday discovering psychic abilities just sporadically, and random people without faces just walking around the school. Literally no faces. It's really weird. It's great.
The last thing I'll say on Moon Knight before we move on is incredible, really good. I loved it. I love it. Some points, of course, very historically inaccurate. When they find the tomb of Alexander the Great, I'm like, we don't know where that is, but you're feeding me, and I love this.
Right.
But I was like, you're giving me the fake tomb of Alexander the Great? Marry me. But
like, I will accept it.
I'll take it 100%. The one criticism that and this is not a criticism that I can speak to personally because I'm not a member of this community, but the character of one of the personalities, of the main personality, arguably, is a Jewish man. So apparently in the comics, they do delve into way deeper into the whole, you're a Jewish man, but you're the aspect of this Egyptian god. How does what conflict of faith does that create within you? And a lot of the trauma of the Jewish upbringing, not because it is itself traumatic, but because his life just went so horribly wrong because of dissociative identity disorder is often triggered by the onset of it is often triggered by really stressful situations and traumatic events. And like the main character's life is just full of those, which you get in a really beautifully presented episode.
It was so beautiful.
It was so beautifully done. Instead of just like a bunch of flashbacks, the whole interactive aspect of it was incredible. Oscar Isaac. Mwah. But yeah, that was a criticism that I've seen amongst Jewish friends of mine and online, being like, they barely touched on it. And that's something that's integral to the character, where, yay, we're getting a season 2, so let's hope,
Fingers crossed, because I want a season 2. I want more. I need more.
Oh, same. Yeah, Wednesday, so fun. On a kind of like metatextual level, I have seen people comment on how over time the Addams family have changed from the thing that was unusual about them was that everybody liked each other, to the thing that's unusual about them being that they're just murderous. But otherwise they're more like traditional family structure. But it's so fun. And you get to just see this character so vividly. And Jenna Ortega did such an incredible job.
Oh, she's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Incredible.
the only thing I know about it is basically from one of my friends ranting about Tim Burton's racism. So, that's not great.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. I heard that.
Tim Burton, though, you're not going to change the man.
Nope, he's not going to change the man. He's Tim Burton, and he's
Tim Burton.
Yeah.
That
Begrudgingly.
friend enjoyed Wednesday in spite of Tim Burton would be would be an accurate assessment.
In fairness, because it is live action, he kind of has to include diversity where it's like, slowly
Face
pulls
it
out
hard,
the
though.
fingers.
An executive pulls Tim aside and goes, dude, you there are other skin colors than white, please, for the love of God.
Like, Tim,
The PR
hey,
department
man.
is screaming.
Hey, Tim, we just wanted to have a really quick call there. Where's the spice on set? And we're like, what? All I see is salt. Where's the pepper? A little bit. Come on now.
And the time that we get it, they're villains.
Yep.
For real.
That's
Which is like-
very Tim.
Somebody once, like, I've heard people be like, well, what? Are you saying that I can't make any black villains? No. Just make sure that you're not only making the black people the villains.
Right.
I got
not
into an
that hard.
issue. It happened. I fell into that problem very early on making my D&D campaigns where it was like, oh, I love making like female NPCs because I don't even know why. I think I have more fun creating female NPCs because I don't know.
You just do.
They are girl bosses. I enjoy making girl bosses. But it got to the point where either every single NPC in this campaign was a woman, and I'm like, okay, they're not in like the island of the Amazons from DC. This is not where this campaign is set. Or all my villains were women, and I'm like, I gotta stop this. I know that sexy villain lady is an impeccable design choice. You gotta not do it all the time. Speaking of like binge watching, another show that came, well, not even a show. It was it's a Marvel special presentation, Werewolf by Night, which incredibly done. So the aesthetic, beautiful, everything incredible. And like it could have so easily been. They could have
Cringe.
stretched that out. It was the perfect length.
Oh,
I think
that.
Werewolf by
Sorry.
Night was the perfect length. What do people think about that?
I loved it.
I have
I
not actually
watched
watched
nothing.
it. I haven't. It is on my watch list. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Ask me about video games or books. I'll have something to say.
Oh, I liked that they brought in Marvel characters who hadn't been in the movies yet. So it was introducing a whole new set of people, including the actual werewolf, who they give the most ridiculous name in the comics. His actual human name is Jack Russell. And my brother didn't know this when we were watching it, so I pointed it out, and then suddenly that's all he could see. Then it was just he knew who the werewolf was going to be because the guy who's named a dog.
Yeah, it could have they could have easily made it into a mini series and stretched it out and fleshed out all of the, for lack of a better word, NPCs, all of the secondary characters that are going to not be relevant by the end of it. And I'm not being spoilery. They're just not really relevant by the end. For what reason? We shall never know. But it was such a cool way of presenting a character because in 40 to 50 minutes, they give you all the information you need about this character and they make you excited to see the characters in in a more main name property. And you're like, oh, these are some really cool world building things. I think a really big positive of both Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night was that, yeah, they're Marvel properties, but they don't shove the like Marvel, the Marvel propaganda. They don't shove the Marvel kind of like just fucking name recognition in your face. Like there wasn't an unnecessary Doctor Strange cameo. Here are these characters and their stories. They're not interacting with anything else in the world yet. At some point they will, but these are their stories.
Yeah. Like, oh, here's Alpha Bloodstone. She's just a hunter. She kills monsters, and that's her whole deal. And because she's quite horror orientated, she doesn't show up in the comics in a while because the comics have been dealing with the X-Men doing weird shit.
Yeah. I watched that and I immediately was like, okay, so a new Blood Hunter order for my D&D campaign is happening right now. Getting thoughts.
Inspiration, not theft.
The way you know, the highest praise I can give a property is if I make a D&D build based on a character.
I have not played a role-playing game with other people in quite some time. I've been playing a lot of Alone in the Dungeon hacks. A lot of Alone in the Dungeon hacks. Lots of me playing role-playing games alone.
There's a video game. Oh, please continue. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say the most recent one I really enjoyed was A Journey to Sensibilia, which is like you've just moved to a weird city, the parameters of which seem to change.
I love
and
it
it's kind of
already.
like loosely based on like Paris or like Milan or something like a nice. There's booksellers along the river and that kind of thing, and but otherwise it's you very much get to shape the city, and the city randomly changes on you, and then you get to go, did it change? What just happened?
A video game that I have, I don't play that many video games, mainly because I do not have the time. I'll hopefully get more into that like over the summer, but a video game that I have played that I haven't finished because it gave me too much anxiety to finish, and it'll be very funny why. It's called Boyfriend Dungeon. It's a dungeon crawler dating sim.
Yes.
Where your weapons can turn into people and you can date them.
You date your weapons.
And like I got up to, I think it's like 5 or 6 ranks per weapon, and I got up to like the penultimate rank on every weapon, and I'm right up to the final battle, and they were like, okay, you need to choose one to go into the final battle with and take your final rank in. And I was like, right, this is where I close the video game because I'm not choosing. I love them all.
How are you supposed to choose between all the people you love? Just let the character be Polly.
And they give options for like there's an ace character, and there's one for all the zesty aromantics. There's a cat. A cat turns into what are they called? Knuckle dusters? I don't know what they're called. Yeah.
Brass
that turns
knuckles.
into like
Brass knuckles.
into those with like spikes on them, and it's a cat,
Cool.
and you can just be like, me and this cat for real. But yeah, you
See,
go
this
on
choice
dates.
is very easy for me.
Yeah, you meet these people, you go on dates, you level them up through going into dungeons and fighting, and then also going on dates with them. There's a guy who's like the edgelord who has a raven named Edgar, and that's important for me.
Oh yeah, they knew what they were doing.
It's called Boyfriend Dungeon. There are options for partners of all genders. Would you love to see? There's some dudes, some gals, some non-binary pals, and a cat.
A cat. You know,
Straight up a cat.
The cat's the way I'm going to. I have Boyfriend Dungeon, but I haven't played very much because I had other games. I have the opposite problem of Apollo. Apollo watches a lot of TV and film, and I play a lot of video games.
I realized most of the TV that I've seen this year has been pre-May. And then I got a job. I stopped binge watching things. So like I would have seen some things if they were released weekly because there wasn't even a chance for me to sit down and watch all of it in one go. So like Rings of Power, I got to just enjoy that week by week. But other things like I'm only getting to see Wednesday now because I finally have the time to sit down and watch it. And I think there's other shows that I've just had waiting for me that I've now forgotten about. So I would have to rediscover what those shows were that I meant to watch because they've been sitting there waiting for me to have a moment just to do nothing.
I was going to say about the Rings of Power. I have not actually watched it yet because I don't have Amazon Prime. It was on Amazon Prime, right? One of my best friends, who I call my sister because we're chosen family and adopted each other, is an actual Tolkien scholar. And she is loving Rings of Power.
Oh, thank God.
That's so weird because the Tolkien scholar I know hates it so much.
Well, the thing is, the reason why she defends it is Lord of the Rings fanfic that is being officially made. So if you don't like it, you don't have to consider it your canon. It's fine.
Yeah, this person hated it not so much because it's, not adhering to the canon. He was like, yeah, of course they can't adhere to the canon. They don't have access. They literally can't talk about certain things. He's mad because it's just not internally consistent with itself. Like
I really can't speak to that. I have no idea. I will say I am not loving the costumes. The costumes that look good look really good. The costumes and hair that don't look good really don't look good. There is no in between.
The same can be said for House of the Dragon.
Yeah, I have the exact same issue with House of the Dragon.
The wigs are cheap.
They're cheap and they look cheap.
The wigs were cheap on Game of Thrones too.
The wigs got better.
Way more of them in House of the Dragon where they need to have like the platinum blonde hair.
Yeah. So it becomes like
the Game of Thrones, which granted I did not actually watch, but like the wigs were inconsistent in quality because sometimes it would be like they have stepped their game up, the wigs are fantastic, and then a few episodes later it would be like, what the crap, these wigs are horrible again. Like there was no consistency on it.
Now I've only watched 3 episodes of Rings of Power because that was like right when my busy season in work and life hit. I'll say it made me want to read the books because I've tried watching the movies and they're so slow paced that I couldn't do it.
The books are not faster.
I know,
the books are slower.
But I can control the pace at which I read though. And
it's true.
And I feel like there's some very good audio slower paced.
Yeah. So
the books are supposed to be like a Norse Edda.
Yes. So yeah, Rings of Power. I've heard a lot of good things. I've heard a lot of bad things. It's a mixed bag, and it's really not going to be a one size fits all for your opinion on what it's going to be like. My sister was really deconstructing all of the arguments being made about it. She's like, I'm really not going to talk about content. What I'm going to deconstruct is all of the whiny man babies being mad.
Which God, you love to see it.
Yeah. Right? You know what? It made the man babies mad, so I'm happy it exists.
That's a sign of success.
Particularly the racist man babies being mad.
Otherwise,
I love making racists mad.
I generally, as a rule, don't want anything that I enjoyed this year actually made into television or movies because they'll ruin it.
Ooh, one thing that hasn't come out yet, but it's in production. The Percy Jackson TV show. I'm so excited for that.
That would probably be fun.
I'm going to become an issue.
I'm sure that's going to be fun. They did the movies and it was fun. It's fine.
The movies hurt me.
They hurt me so bad, Faranae. They hurt me so bad.
They
were fun.
They
They
were
were
fun.
fun.
They were
As
great,
adaptations,
but they were fun.
There's a lot more being made for that teen YA audience, and middle grade is kind of getting ignored to some extent. Like, not because there's still tons of books being made for middle grade, but then like those kids in that age group kind of have a gap for visual media.
And in particular adaptations of the books.
Yeah.
Comics. There's not that many that are directly aiming at that age group.
I think it'll be nice for the kids, I hope, to have.
Yeah.
I also know from a production standpoint why you would age up the characters, not even for marketing reasons, but just but also just in general, new television for children and preteens that is live action would be good.
Percy Jackson's could have faced the same problem as Stranger Things, where the actors will grow up faster than they can shoot.
Especially because, again, you have limitations on how much time you can shoot a kid. And one of the ways around that is, you find twins or triplets. That helps a lot.
Or you have an ensemble cast so you can shoot a whole episode with individual people. Which I think it's how Stranger Things gets around, because they'll focus on like 2 or 3 characters at a time, which means they can record the kids in like 2 or 3 pairs, rather than to try put them all on screen at the same time. So like apparently now they're doing a time skip between seasons 4 and 5.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. Okay, since we're talking about Stranger Things, I just really have to say real quick, season 4. There are really, really good things about season 4. There are some things where I'm like, that was a choice. But what season 4 did fantastically, so very well, songs.
Yes.
The song choice. And like how the Duffer Brothers have said that even in the past, they would write scenes with a song in mind of what needed to be the background song. But they had, like, it needs to be this type of vibe. It doesn't necessarily need to be this specific song. But with season 4, it needs to be this song. We will pay out of our own pockets if the budget doesn't give it. Like, we need to get this song. We will do whatever it takes to get this song. And like, I was having a conversation with Colin, and I was like, this is a song they used, and like, there's no way it could have been done with anything else. He's like, no, I think it could have been done with this other song. And I'm like, okay, I love that other song, but you are wrong. It had to be this song.
I hear you and I love you and I'm receiving this. No.
Exactly. And it's also a case because like he hadn't actually seen it. I really love Stranger Things.
I'm obsessed with it. I have all the tie-in comics for it. It's just the thing that I do now. Whenever the new one's out, I just pick them up.
If we're talking soundtracks that were critical to a piece of media, recent media this year that I enjoyed this year, 2 video games, Unpacking, which, as we know, I am obsessed with. We might not know that. I'm obsessed with Unpacking. I'm a moderator in their Discord server.
So if you didn't know, you know now.
That's how obsessed. Unpacking that, it is a chiptune soundtrack, and it is perfect because and a lot of it is nostalgia. Like, it manages to make chiptune nostalgia of real music, like non-video game music, which is very, very cool. And then the other one is is regular modern electronic music soundtrack, Toem, which is a photography game, a photography and gap year backpacking game. It's amazing. Ooh. I love that game.
Oh, that's one you were telling me about. Faranae gave me a list of accessible games for me because I shared what exactly my accessibility reasons are.
Yes.
And Faranae made a list of games for me to try.
Toem is one of them, with the caveat that they just released a 1-year anniversary update that does have one achievement that's not accessible, unfortunately. But it's only an achievement. Like, it doesn't block finishing the game. It's just like, if you're obsessed with 100%ing your Steam achievements, well, you better be able to do rhythm games.
Right.
It's not even that hard of a rhythm game. Like they tried to make it not too hard, but it's still a rhythm game.
I
Which means
watched
it
one
is-
Jaden Animations video about rhythm games, and I'm so scared.
No, it's
the
a very
goodness is I am
simple-
good at rhythm games.
So you might be
Memory
able to
games
get-
and rhythm games, I'm good.
I can't do I can't do the reflex. So
Yeah,
I
having to
can't.
do things quickly, I'm not good.
Um, so that's the only part of that game that is now not accessible. But yeah, it's a great game. There's no combat. There's no violence. They don't even hint at violence when I think about it.
Oh wow.
When thinking about like a piece of media that has really significant or really cool music attached to it. Now this one 100% has violence. This is the anime Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, but anime almost always has good soundtracks. I mean, we had an entire panel about music and anime.
Oh yeah. But the Chainsaw Man opening, it's been the second I heard, it's been on the top of my on repeat on Spotify for well over a month. No song should last this long. It's incredible. It scratches every single itch in my brain. There's always it's a very busy song, but I like that because there's never like awkward silences, and when there are, they're in anticipation of a big build. So I like that. And then usually anime, like every season or twice per season, they'll change the ending song and the ending animation. Every single end of the episode has its own song and its own ending animation. And that is
Oh, good
so
Lord,
good.
that's expensive.
So expensive. So good.
It's so expensive. Oh my God.
Mappa?
Horror and D&D. Actually, there was a really good horror game I've been playing. It's very short. It's like a 3 or 4 hour game, but it is taking me much longer because I keep getting freaked out. Nothing
Mood.
happens on screen. Like there's no gore on screen or anything. It is all implied. Beacon Pines.
We're just
Oh,
watching
I've
this.
heard of that. I think I heard about that from you, but I've heard of that from other people as well.
Yeah, like it's super cute art, beautiful, super cute art. A very charming narrator. And it's a horror game. It's definitely a horror game. I have found, I think, 6 bad endings so far.
At that point,
Oh, I've just looked it up. That's so cute looking.
Right? Beacon Pines is like you are trying to get to the good ending. Like you are explicitly told by the narrator, we're going to get the good ending to this story. So every time a horrible, horrible death happens, the narrator goes, what? No, that's not what happened. We're going to go back and we're going to make this not happen. And you keep
narrator
going,
fighting for their life.
But the narrator is not a character in the story.
That's so cute, though.
The narrator is like, these are my precious babies and I want them to live.
That's giving me Night in the Woods vibes, especially because they're also
Very much
animal
Night in the
characters.
Woods. A lot like Night in the Woods in that way. This one is much more explicit in the like storybook structure and everything. Like you literally open a book and pick a branch on it to go back and make different choices and insert words into the book to change your choices.
Okay, I definitely need to play this.
I know what I'm
Thank
getting
you.
next.
The nice
I would
thing with
hate
like
that.
Beacon Pines is you
Right.
can save and quit at any time, basically. So, and you can pause anytime. Same thing with Cozy Grove, which is another horror adjacent, super cute, beautifully drawn game. Much longer though. I have 200 hours into it.
Holy crap.
Uh, Minimum,
This is why I
like,
don't do horror. I would see me. I'd have to fully pause, start screaming at my screen in one of many languages. It's gonna come out in a language.
Navi.
Usually it's Spanish.
one of the reasons I love Hill House as much as I do is all of the horror is atmosphere built. Well, not all of it, but most of the horror is atmosphere and character built. So it slowly amps up. Like, it's very gothic horror. I love gothic horror. Gothic horror is one of the things I can do. It is very few jump scares. And the times that it's jump scares, it's not jump scares to be intentional jump scares. It's jump scares because they have built up the atmosphere so much that a sudden change is making you jump. Like, literally a light turning on was a jump scare.
If you tell me, hey, let's watch horror movies, I'll be like, okay, I am bringing a Bible, I am putting a rosary around the computer. I'm not taking any chances here.
Yeah, I don't do regular horror. I don't handle gore very well or anything like that. But I'm finding these really cool, like, horror adjacent things, like the cozy horror of Cozy Grove, where nothing ever happens on screen. All of it is stuff that happened in the long ago past. Everyone's already dead. It's fun.
I love that. I love that so much.
What a cozy grove. Everyone's dead. Okay.
It really is. Like, somehow, like, the like fact that you already know they died. Like, it can't get worse. They can only get better from here, weirdly enough. There's some light necromancy.
It absolutely can get worse. They can come back.
I said light necromancy. Light and accidental. There are a couple
He
cases
followed me
of-
home. Can I keep him? That's how you get ghosts.
There's like, it's an island, a haunted island. It's a very haunted island.
Absolutely
but,
not.
Yeah, like, everything happens off screen and in the long ago past. So it takes some of the, like, tension away without making it less intense. Like, the game doesn't give you more story than you can handle because it's time gated, real time gated.
Oh,
So, like, each day you get a maximum of like 1 hour. And you can keep playing, like, you can keep fishing and catching critters and but you can't advance the story. So you're going to get hit with, like, a horrific character death. And then the game's going to be like, you go ahead and take your time to process that.
That's nice.
We'll pick this up tomorrow or in a few days. Like, they have, the way it works is it's N plus so many days. So, like, certain story beats are intentionally gated that you will not get the next story beat the next day to ensure that, like, you have time to kind of sit with that.
That's considerate.
Yeah.
There are two horror adjacent things that I want to comment on. One is that, like, I was raised, for lack of a better word, kind of like a white household. I never really had a sense of, like, community from a racial cultural perspective. The one thing that I do have in common with any Black person on the internet that I've ever come across, I don't fuck with horror. If me and my friends went to a cabin in the woods, the first sign of something spooky, I know all my white friends are going to be like, "Oh my God, what's that?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm going home. Bye. See you. Have fun. Let me know if you live. I'm not fucking with horror." However, horror is the best genre that I DM when I play D&D. Because for me, horror is details and being aware of hypothetical horrible consequences, where it's psychological and it's visual. And that's just describing things like,
Yeah.
I have a weird relationship with horror, specifically horror podcasts. My favorite being the Magnus Archives. So it's really, really deeply disturbing. But the narrator, Jonathan Sims, has the most soothing voice. So I have often fallen asleep to Johnny just saying really, really horrible things, but in the nicest voice ever. And I would sleep through like 3 or 4 episodes, waking up intermittently. So I'm story. And by the time I finish those 4 episodes, none of it makes sense because characters have been torn apart and then other weird things have happened. And it's like, wait, the spider doesn't relate to that thing. What's going on? So I have to go back and then listen to all of the episodes again and try, do it when I'm not going to bed. Otherwise, it's got Johnny Sims whispering terrible things to me.
That's how I am with Welcome to Night Vale and Cecil's voice. Cecil's voice is very soothing. It's yeah. And so like the times that I have dozed off listening to it, and you get weird dreams when you fall asleep listening to Welcome to Night Vale.
I have not managed to listen to Night Vale specifically because Cecil puts me to sleep, and therefore I can't follow enough of it to like listen to it. So it's like during the pandemic, I've been reading a lot of low stakes, cozy fantasy, like a Psalm for the Wild Built kind of thing. The problem is that because there's no state, like the stakes are really low and the tension level is very, very low. Yeah, sometimes I fall asleep instead of reading my book.
Okay.
Forward to 2023.
2023. Let's see. Terranil, which is a reverse city builder game. So you have a world that has been devastated by buildings and all that. And the challenge is to deconstruct everything and restore the natural environment.
Ooh.
Yeah. The demo is very robust. So like it's the only demo I blew 8 hours on. Like normally I play a demo and I just play it the one time, get my half hour or hour demo done and wish list or not. Terranil was like, no, 8 hours later, oops. Lodalnaut is going to be another one, but different. Like it's another cleanup game. They just had a demo, so I fell in love with it based on the half-hour demo last week, where you are swimming around in an ocean owned by some kind of megacorp. I don't know what the plot line is going to be. I have a feeling it's going to go weird like Subnautica does, but it's a bit fluffier, and you are cleaning up an ocean of trash. And that's it. Like you just swim around and clean up trash. It's great. And the other big one I'm looking forward to next year, that's actually going to come out next year for sure, is Mineko's Night Market, which I have been waiting for like 5 years. And it finally has a playable demo. I finally got to play a demo. It's not vaporware. It's going to be real. And all I can say is it's not anything I expected. It is like Untitled Goose Game, Harvest Moon, and Potionomics had a weird baby together.
That's a very weird baby.
It's a very weird. I did not expect to have non-violent stealth action puzzle in that game, but I did, to rescue cats. And it's going to be a recurring mechanic in the final game.
Oh yeah.
As much as I said, I'm very picky with horror, and I don't actually enjoy body horror and stuff. I really cannot wait to see Megan.
I've only seen the poster and it looks weird.
Yeah, I think that's why I like it. I've seen the trailer and I keep watching the trailer. Like she does this weird murder dance. It should be hilarious, or maybe it should be hilarious, but either way, it's hilarious.
God.
So yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. But like, yes, it's horror, and I'm pretty sure it's not my type of horror, but I'm gonna watch it anyway.
There's currently a show that I'm watching. It's a D&D actual play by Dimension 20, Never After, where they take folk stories and fairy tales, kind of like the Brothers Grimm fairy tales, but give them the full horror feel of them. And it started, they're 3 episodes in, so it's been going for 3 weeks. It's going to be a 20 episode season? So that's going to be going in well into the new year. They're going to be going in like a good few months into it. I can't wait. They ended episode 3 on a massive cliffhanger that made me so angry, and I'm lucky I watched the episode after my exam, or else I again would not have focused.
Oh God.
I'm going through it. But yeah, that's kind of something that I'm really looking forward to. Hades 2, because I assume they're going to do the same thing where it's going to be kind of like beta testing and open access and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think beta in 2023.
Yeah. So excited for that. I'm thinking about movies. The Barbie movie.
Yeah, that trailer really sold me on it.
The Barbie movie comes out the day of my 21st. I saw that trailer. I was like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I am doing.
Oh, I thought of another thing I'm looking forward to.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to reading Down Below, Paul.
Oh, yes. That thing I did.
Oh, yeah. I think we're all looking forward to that.
One thing I forgot to mention, which is truly a crime if I didn't mention it, Across the Spider-Verse.
Right! How did we forget this?
I forgot that was it next year.
June, 2nd of June, 2023, Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
So excited.
I'm also looking forward to Ant-Man because it's going to bring in Kang the Conqueror. So that'll be fun.
Have you seen the pictures of Jonathan Majors? That man's ripped. I'm not
So
only
ripped.
I'm not only Team Kang, I'm actively anti-Team Avengers.
And the Magnus Protocol, which is the kind of sequel to the Magnus Archives, is slated to come out in October next year. So I'm excited for that.
The Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Oh, that's also next year. Yes, they delayed it by a month because of scheduling conflicts.
Which is so funny.
The most D&D thing that the movie could ever do.
It's true.
It's
very true.
There's some fun things coming next year.
But now it's releasing the weekend at the start of Kaizo, which means that I'll have to go the weekend without watching the movie and avoiding spoilers for dear life because I'll have to manage Kaizo Kukan.
Yeah, that's really difficult. Good luck with that.
You keep saying Kaizo, and I keep thinking of Super Mario speedrunning.
You know what? I may as well. With the stress I am under.
Look, if you want to get into Super Mario Kaizo speedrunning, I know people.
I really don't. It feels like I'd cry. I tried a Pokemon Nuzlocke once, and it took me a month to recover from that. I don't think I could do a Kaizo. I've seen Jaden animations. I'm not that mentally strong. No speedrunning at Kaizo Kukan, only lighthearted fun.
Good, because I can't speedrun. So I think that is just going to kind of wrap us up for this. I really hope that people have enjoyed this, and feel free to comment with the things that you're looking forward to for next year, the things you've enjoyed for this year, recommendations. Send us those. I'm always looking for new things that people think that I might enjoy. Caveat of, if you decide to send me horror, you cannot send me clowns. You cannot send me clowns.
Oh, warning.
Why do they look like
there are
that?
clowns in Cozy Grove. They're totally optional. But there's a clown sculpture
Optional
you can get.
clowns.
There's a clown sculpture you can get, and it's super creepy.
No.
Like, hey, here's a really nice video game we prepared for you. Here's a clown sculpture. You can choose not to take this. But we would like it if you did.
Yes, next year.
Yes, the thing that we're doing.
Octocon 2023.
Yes. Wow, I have blanked completely. Yes, Octocon 2023. We are very excited to have it. Memberships are open, so feel free to get it.
Official date and venue to be confirmed, because Dublin is difficult.
Dublin
is difficult. You can get a supporting membership now and upgrade later. And that'll still be good for a virtual membership if you're like, no, I'm going to hunker down in my basement instead.
And we will have plenty of virtual content. So you will not be left out if you do the virtual. But thank you very much, and good night.
Oh.